another session of GCAN, Gallant Current Affairs and News Analysis. So today we will be dealing with 3 days of current affairs, 28th, 29th and 30th of September 2023. So let's look into the main topics of these 3 days. First we have the architect of India's Green Revolution, M.S. Swaminathan. He recently diminished, so we have to look into what all contributions he has actually done for our Indian economy about the Green Revolution and how he is actually taken place, what all were the components with it. Then we have the G20 Screen of the Mazdoor. It mainly talks about the labor rights, one key component that the G20 and India missed to take any such actions in the present G20 summit. Then we have the India's kidney transplant deficit. Now there is a major big topic if you are looking into the medical history, so we have to deal with that. We have the inside digital world of cookies, so we need to learn what is cookies and what are the concerns we have regarding the cookies and what all laws we have in India and also in the globe regarding the cookies. Then we have the 15-point winter action plan, mainly tackling about the air pollution. Now this particularly deals with the NCR region, the National Capital Territory region, so we need to look into that as well. Then we have the global dispute settlement, India and the Appellate review. This mainly discusses about the WTO Appellate body that is inactive since 2019. Then we have the Shastra Ramanujan prize, mainly in the field of mathematics. So recently a mathematician got award, the Ramanujan prize. So we need to look at the Ramanujan prize and a brief history about S. Ramanuja as well. Then we have the India's Aging Report of 2023, Toto language as well as the Bolson Tortoise that has been in news recently. So I have to discuss all these 10 topics. So moving on to our first topic, we have M.S. Swaminathan, the architect of India's Green Revolution. So if you are looking at the time period of 1940s to 1960s, the time period when India got independence. The thing is that after independence, India had a lot of issues. Not just a case of poverty, we had illiteracy, we had malnutrition, we had hunger problem, a lot of famines was recurring. All the industries were actually gone or deindustrialized. The agriculture sector was also not good and we were actually not able to produce enough so that our Indians could actually sustain. So because of which we were actually bound to take the aid and import of other foods from foreign lands. The thing is that in 1940s you may have heard about the Bengal famine. Now this can be actually called as a man-made disaster as well. Then Prime Minister Winston Churchill, England Prime Minister Winston Churchill actually decided all the food grains should be diverted to the World War II fighting soldiers rather than to the famine affected sectors in India. So because of this, about 2 to 3 million of people actually died within that time period, especially during the 1940 Bengal famine. So you see all the food, like the thing is that India was actually not able to sustain itself because of all the productivity. We were actually not able to sustain ourselves, and on the top of that all the imported food grain was actually diverted. So because of all these issues, about 2 to 3 million people have actually died. Even after independence, this was actually not in a good phase. We were actually not able to produce itself. If we are looking at the time period of 1947, we were actually only able to produce close to 6 million tons of food grains. If you are cutting change to 1962, we were only able to create about 10 million tons of food grains. Even within this much time period, we were actually only able to increase the production up to 4 million tons of production. That is when the Green Revolution idea took place. The Green Revolution, inputting high yield variety of seeds, inputting much more fertilizer, chemicals and pesticides, and increasing the irrigation, because of which the productivity actually jumped. So if you are looking at the time period between 1964 to 1968, the productivity actually jumped from about 10 million to about 17 million tons. It was actually a close to doubling of that was actually created within the year. Extra 7 million tons that we were actually able to produce, and within the later years we were actually able to sustain India as well. Within the meantime, we were actually taking specially aid from US. You might have heard about the PL480. Now this is the US aid of food grains, especially wheat, we were actually getting from the US. So this is what a backdrop was about the condition of India and how the Green Revolution has actually helped us in doubling all the production within India. The thing is that even with the increase in production, we were thinking that we will be self-sufficient, but there was a major problem with this kind of productivity. Now you see the traditional variety of wheat plants in India is actually long. and slender, it's very long, and all the productivity, the wheat grains actually grow over this. So with the increase in productivity, when we are actually putting much more fertilizer, when we are actually putting much more irrigation, so the productivity will enhance, which means that this is actually filled. So you see, everything actually grows in top of the plant and the entire produce is within the top. Now you see, as I told you, it is very long and tender and all the food grains are concentrated within the top part. Now because of this plant is actually not able to carry this heavy load upon the top, and the plant is susceptible to actually fall down. Because of this, there will be actually crop failure. Now this process is actually called as lodging. This process is actually called lodging. This is a process when all the produce, the plant is actually heavy with the produce, and the plant is actually not able to hold down to the produce anymore, and the plant actually fall down, actually creating crop failure. So that is a phenomenon that has been actually taking place. So what we need is actually a dwarf variety of plant. Suppose this is only the height, which means that all the produce is here. Now this plant is much more stable and can actually hold down to the grains. So we have to actually reduce the height of the plant. That was actually one of the main aims after this productivity was introduced. But the problem was that M.S. Swaminathan, he has actually done multiplicity of all the methods by which he was wanted to reduce the plant height. He used chemical methods, he used radiation methodologies, but nothing was working out, and he was actually not able to reduce the plant height as much. That is when he has actually heard that certain kinds of dwarf plant was actually created in North America and South America. Certain scientists are actually working on it as well. So M.S. Swaminathan actually approached a scientist called as Orville Voigel. So he has actually created a dwarf weed which is called Gaines, which actually use a dwarf weed called the Norin 10. But the problem was that Vogel was actually not sure that this particular variety of dwarf plant which he has created was not suitable in India. So he has actually stated M.S. Swaminathan to approach Norman Borger. In last class we actually talked about Norman Borger Award, one Indian scientist, the third Indian agricultural scientist to actually get the Norman Borger Award. So he is actually an agricultural scientist as well. He has also been doing a Norman dwarf genes as well. Now this particular gene was actually more compatible with that of India, and with that the dwarf wheat breeding program was actually instituted in India in about 1963. Now this dwarf wheat breeding program is also nicknamed as Wheat Revolution. Now this is nicknamed as Wheat Revolution because of which this dwarf kind of wheat variety was actually induced in India, and we could actually increase the productivity as well. But M.S. Swaminathan stated with the increase in productivity, we have to also be in touch with cautions of the side effects. The thing is that if you are actually using a lot of pesticides, you are using a lot of fertilizers and such, these are harmful, these are chemicals, these are harmful to the environment as such, and will actually cause environmental degradation. But the thing is that we know in Punjab and Haryana, a lot has been using fertilizers so that the productivity can be increased, and now there is actually a widespread land degradation that has been happening. Another problem is over irrigation. If the water, especially for rice, if the water is actually stagnant in a particular area, it will actually create salinity, and because of this, land will be further degraded again. Another problem is that with this kind of green revolution, only particular states were actually successful in it. If you are taking Punjab and Haryana and that kind of region, they were actually more successful with this green revolution, and it was more implemented in these areas rather than the other areas. So because of it, there is a regional divide that has been actually created. So these are some of the side effects that actually came along with the green revolution. But as I have told you, if you are actually neglecting the side effects, this was one of the main important things, aspect that actually helped India achieve the self-sufficiency in our food grains within India, so that we could actually stop taking imports like PL480, US aid of imports, and now we are actually one of the largest exporters, especially in the case of food grains. So this green revolution actually helped India sustain its get its self-sufficiency. Now the Swaminathan was also awarded the first World Food Prize Laureate Award in actually 1987. So this particular topic is actually very important. If you are regarding the mains, you might even get a topic in your essay as well. So this particular topic about M.S. Swaminathan is actually particularly important. Then we have the G20 Screen of the Mazdoor. So the G20 summit which happened in India was actually pretty much very successful. If you are looking, there was initiation of New Delhi Declaration where all the 20 members has actually put consigns to it. Another is that we actually introduced African Union was also introduced as a member in the G20. Another was the international India Middle East Economic Corridor. India Middle East Economic Corridor was also introduced. So a lot of good thing has actually taken place within the G20. But the author states that the G20 was missed an opportunity, especially if you are looking to protect the workers' right. We had the Labour 20 kind of working groups, L20, the Labour 20 group working within the G20 group. But the problem is that this L20 group was politicized. In the last 20 years, this L20, Labour 20 organization was actually handled by the International Trade Union Corporation. But this year, the government actually changed the International Trade Union Corporation with the Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh. Now, this particular body was politicized, because of which the ITUC actually did not participate in any of the meetings, and no big conclusion actually came out of this Labour 20 organization. They did discuss some of the policies like addressing skill gap, data collection, portable social security schemes and such, but out of a large, the L20 did not actually pose a big result, did not actually bring in such big result as well. The thing is that the labour organizations as such, the labour, particularly the workers' rights, is very important in this modern day concept, because there is a lot of exploitative type of working condition that is actually taking place. You can see the modern type of slavery happening place. There is forced labour. You might have also heard about the kafala system. Now this particularly takes place in the Arab countries. From India, about 13 million people actually migrate abroad, and out of this 13 million people, 9 million actually goes to this Arab area, and these 9 million people are actually susceptible to this kafala system. The kafala system mainly means that the migrant, which is actually migrant from India, migrant is actually tied to the employer abroad, which means that the migrant cannot take any such decisions of his own. His passport is with the employer, so he cannot change jobs, he cannot have a mercy or choice, or he can do whatever he wants. He is always susceptible to that of the employer. Any decision he makes, he has to take along with the employer. There is harsh working condition, there is limited pay, he cannot see his family or something. So these labourers abroad are actually exploited physically, sexually. All these labourers are actually exploited within the kafala system. That is why the author is mentioning that a lot of big issues actually come under this, and the G20 actually missed a pretty much big opportunity to discuss all these issues that are actually taking place. So as I have told you, India is the world's largest migrant sending country with an estimate about 13 million population. Then out of this 39 million Indians are in the Arab countries, especially under the kafala system. In India also we are actually seeing slavery, just not in the Arab countries or all over the world. In India particularly, if you are looking, there is textiles, brick, shrimp farming, copper manufacturing, stone cuttings or such sections, plantations also see a lot of slavery. These workers get low wages, there is huge harsh conditions of working condition, there is a long working hours, they don't get a holiday or anything. There is no social security benefits associated with these workers. So because of all this, India also actually sees a lot of slavery conditions. So if you are looking as per the Walk Free Foundation, there are estimate about 27 million population people trapped in modern day slavery. Now this is within the G20 nations. Within the G20 nations, 27 million people are actually under the modern day slavery. So out of this 27 million people, 11 million people actually are from India. So that is what the Walk Free Foundation has actually talked about. So the major indicators of how we know this is a modern day slavery is that there is restrictions on the workers' freedom of movement, withholding of the wages or the identity, physical or sexual violence, threat, fraudulent debts, and such are some indicators of the modern day slavery that is persistent. So if you are actually looking as per the International Labour Organization, they actually give a particular definition for this forced labour or compulsory labour. It is said that if a worker or a compulsory labour is all work or service which is extracted from a person under threat or a penalty or for which the person has not offered himself or herself voluntarily. Now this particular is actually actual definition that is actually mentioned under the International Labour Organization. If you are ever getting a question, you can actually put data, or you can actually give out the perfect definition that is actually given out by International Labour Organization. It is a particular work that a person has actually not applied for, or the person is actually under the threat that he has to do it. So such kind of work is actually the forced or compulsory work. So India, like if in International Labour Organization, has actually a treaty called the C29, that is called the International Labour Organization Forced Labour Convention, that is nicknamed as C29, and India has signed and ratified it. So it's actually important that India actually address these workers' rights and migrants issue, especially the kafala system. Over 9 million Indians are actually under this kafala system within the Arab Gulf countries. So it's very important that India address these issues and challenges. Recently, the Indian government has actually tried to consolidate the labour laws into 4 labour codes, but now this has been met with a lot of restrictions from the trade unions, civil societies as such, because of which these are actually stagnant now. In India, if you are especially looking, there are about 530 million workers, out of which 430 million workers are in the informal service sector, because of which they are actually getting exploited, especially they are undergoing forced labour. So these are some of the important data which you can actually put forward in your answers. So it's very important because the G20 did not address this very particular issue that was in need of addressing. So that is what the author has actually mentioned from this article. Moving on, we have India's kidney transplant deficit. So if we are looking, 17% of the population in India undergoes chronic kidney disease condition. Now this actually disrupts the normal lifestyle of the people. They need a new kidney because they have to undergo dialysis. So this is actually hectic for them, a major health concern and challenge that has been affecting. The thing is that over 2 lakh patients in India need kidney annually. But the thing is that out of this 2 lakh, only 3.4% actually get kidney. The thing is that we have the doctors, we have the technology, we have the infrastructure for this transplantation as such. But the thing is that we don't have enough donors. Now this is actually created because of the stringent laws and regulation that the Indian government has actually brought out. So as I have told you, this data, like 2 lakh people actually need kidney transplantation, but only 3.4% of people hardly get any kidney and all. So if you are looking why this is happening, because it is of the stringent laws and regulation that actually governs in India. Now we can actually get kidney from about 2 types of people. First is from the deceased or any brain dead person, and other from a near relative or friends who are actually offering us kidney. And the important thing which we need to assume that the blood type as well as the organ tissue matches, or else the particular kidney which is actually transplanted will be actually rejected by the body. The blood type, also the organ tissue type has to be similar in the case of transplantation. If you are looking in the western lands like USA, Europe and such, there is 2 particular things happening. There is kidney swap happening and also kidney chain happening. So if it's in a kidney swap, let's take a particular family A. The person X actually needs kidney. The particular family A is none of the members is actually matching the person X. Then there is another family B. From this family B, the person Y actually needs a kidney, but none of the family members' kidney actually match the person Y. But the families A match Y and the families B actually matches the X. So the thing is that they swap the kidneys. It is based on a mutual arrangement. The family A actually gives kidney to the person Y and the family B actually gives kidney to the person X. So by this way the swap arrangement actually takes place. Another is this kidney chain. The thing is that a person is offering kidney based on goodwill. They don't need any money in return, they don't need kidney in return, they are actually offering their kidney as a goodwill. Now then this starts a chain kind of reaction, that is called the kidney chain. The thing is that in India both the kidney swap and the kidney chain is actually illegal. This does not take place in a country like India because there is a lot of laws happening. The thing is that there is a black market in India for kidney donation organ as such. So because of which if these kidney swap, kidney chain is actually brought up, it will actually enhance the black market which is present in India. So because of which a lot of laws and regulations had to be brought in. So For all this kidney swap to actually take place, a centralized database is actually required, which is actually established and well performed in countries like Western countries and such. But in India, we don't have a centralized base system. In many other states, if you are looking this altruistic donation, that is within the family, like if a person like in kind, like starting kidney chain and such, this is actually prohibited in Kerala. It is banned in some certain states, especially if you can looking altruistic donations actually illegal in Kerala, and we don't have any kind of centralized database system. So because of all this, people who genuinely need a kidney is actually lagged out. They are not getting, these actually hampers the gain of getting a donation as such. So these are some of the problems that we actually face in India. In India, the kidney laws, the development of this kidney laws are actually very slow. So if you are looking in 1994, we had kind of some reforms. There's transplantation possible from a brain dead person was actually allowed. Then in 2011, the swab transplantation was actually allowed. But in 2014 again, the swab arrangement was actually restricted to near relatives alone. You cannot actually get from another person or something. You have to get kidney from your near relatives only. Then the government recent reform is actually to allow more flexibility in age and as well as the domicile requirement and registration, so that the kidney availability will be much more easier. So it took a lot of years to actually reach till at least a little bit of flexibility. So which we can actually state that the kidney exchange laws have been very slow in a country like India. But these reforms leave the fundamental issues of inadequate kidney supply largely. The thing is that these reforms are there, the kidney swap arrangements are all, the government is bringing in things, but it is slow. But the main thing that the laws does not actually address is the inadequate kidney supply that is happening, that is taking place. As I have told you, 2 lakh of the population, only 3.4% of the people hardly get any kind of kidneys at all. So this has been actually mainly stated by the author. That is the condition of the kidney sector in India and how much less transplantation is actually taking place in India. Then we have inside the digital world of cookies. You might have seen cookies when you are actually surfing through Google. If you are actually going into a particular site, you might have seen like we accept all cookies, we deny all cookies and such. A small pop-up box will actually come in as such, accepting all the cookies or rejecting all the cookies. The cookies is that is actually helps us actually plays a very important role in improving your online experience. It actually helps in personalization and user convenience. So if you are actually going into a particular site, you might have been creating a password or a mail, a username and password. So the cookie box will appear stating that if you want to save this password or something, if you actually click save, if you are actually going to the site again, when we click on the username itself, this username and password actually comes in and we can automatically log in. So the thing is that it actually improves our personalized experience within the online platform. So the cookies are basically nothing but it is actually a bits of code which is actually stored within a device when one visits a website or we are playing a game or we are shaping any. So it shapes our online experience as such. And this essentially tracks our online behavior. The thing is that all these cookies are stored within a particular sector. There is actually a lot of privacy concern associated with it as well. The thing is that if any cyber hacker actually tries to, he will actually get all the personalized information. He might get our password, he might get our username. So because of which there is a lot of privacy concern associated with this cookies as well. If you are looking in country, we have in EU we have the General Data Protection Regulations. They also mention about the cookies, like the cookies regulations and such is also mentioned. In India, we have also the data protection personal laws and such. In it, which actually explicitly mentions about consent for the collecting or processing of personal data via cookies. So in our data protection law, digital personal data protection law also, we mention about cookies, how the information can actually be collected or processed in the case of cookies in India as well. So there is actually security concern in the case of cookies and a lot of laws have been actually mentioned it because there is a threat of cyber crimes and cyber criminals actually taking place. So in our Digital Personal Data Protection Act, we have actually mentioned about the cookies regulations and such. So these are some of the key highlights that is actually mentioned in the article. Then we have the 15-point winter action plan. The first thing is that I have told you this actually takes place in the National Capital Region of National Capital Territory region, which includes Delhi, Haryana, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh as well as Rajasthan. Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan. So if you are looking at, especially in the winter time, is between October to December, the air quality is actually very poor within this area. There are two reasons. The first thing is stubble burning and the next is the pollution dome effect. The stubble burning, as you know, after the Kharif crop period, they have to actually get the fields ready for the rabi crops. So all these stubbles are burned by the farmer because that is a much more easier way of actually disposing all the stubbles that is actually present in the field. So because of which the farmers actually burn all the stubble, and because of there is no air mixing happening, all the stubble burning, the dust and everything gets accumulated in the air and it actually increases the air pollution within that particular region. The next is the pollution dome effect. So usually if you are looking at night time, winter times, ground area actually gets much more chilly, because of which the ground area it will be particularly cooler. This area will be the ground region will be particularly cooler and all the warm air gets accumulated at the top. Now this we can actually call it as temperature inversion. Normally what takes place is that there is warmer air here and there is colder air at the top. The warmer air rises up and the colder air actually comes down. This is a normal condition where when the height actually increases, the temperature decreases. Now this is the normal condition. With the increase in height, the temperature actually decreases. But during the temperature inversion kind of phenomena, the cooler air gets accumulated at the ground level and the warm air will be actually at the top. So as I have told you, warm air actually rises up and the cool air actually comes and settles down. Now because of which, if there is no mixing of air, there is no vents happening, there will be no mixing up of air. So all the pollutants within that particular area get stagnant there. Now with this phenomena, like think about the transplantation, vehicular pollution happening place, industrial pollution. So all this actually adds to the increase in pollution level, especially if there is in a particular area where the temperature inversion actually takes place. So this actually creates a pollution dome. So this area will be creating a pollution dome. So all this area will be actually under the pollution. It will actually be creating a dome-like phenomena. So as you can see in this figure, this actually creates a pollution dome where the city comes here, all the pollution particles get accumulated here and it kind of creates a dome where there is no intermixing of air. If there is a wind, all this pollution gets actually carried away. All this pollution gets actually carried away and there will be no pollution dome being created. But because of there is no wind, all the pollution get accumulated in a particular area and it actually creates a dome kind of phenomena. So that is called as the pollution dome. That is called the pollution dome. So these are the two main reasons why there is actually persistent pollution, especially in the case of winter area. So winter time. So the government brings in 15-point formulas to address these issues. The first thing is that they have actually created 13 air pollution hotspots. These 13 places will actually have all the air pollution usually happening air pollution in these areas. There will be action plans, special team, war rooms and all created within this particular area. And another thing is the Indian Agriculture Research Center actually brought in the biodecomposers. As I have told you, the stubble burning is another major issue because the farmers are burning all these. So they have brought in the Indian Agriculture Institute in Pusa actually brought out biodecomposers, by which it actually decomposes the stubble within a farm area, and they are actually sprayed in about 4,400 acres of land last year, and now it will be expanded to about 5,000 acres of land this year. And another important thing is the dust pollution. So if you are looking at the construction side, if you are looking at the roads and vehicular system, when the vehicle is actually moving, the dust is actually dispersed, again increasing the pollution. If you are looking at the construction side, it also creates a considerable amount of dust. So there is actually importance in managing the dust pollution persisting as well. So they have actually brought in anti-smog guns, then mechanical road sweeping machines so that these dust won't get dispersed when the vehicle actually moves. Then there is water sprinkling machine. When there is sprinkling of water, all the dust will actually be settling down and it won't be floating anymore. Then anti-smog guns, 258 anti-smog guns be required. So all these actually addressing the dust pollution. Then we have the vehicular pollution. About 385 teams will be actually sent out, so that they are actually going to ban the old diesel and petrol vehicles. They are going to roll out much more electronic vehicle and such, and then alter the lanes which has heavy traffic. They will actually identify 90 major roads which has a large amount of junk of traffic, and they will be altering the route so that to actually reduce the traffic, to reduce the pollution there as well. Then ban on burning of garbage. 611 teams will be actually enrolled so that the garbage will not be actually burned. the industrial units, check that all the industrial unit pollutions are, everything is under control. Industrial units will be actually taking place. Green Delhi app will be actually bought in. Then e-waste eco park will be bought in. Firecrackers will be actually banned in. Then they are actually planning to plant a lot of 1 crore such as saplings as such. And also the GRAPE, that will be also enforced. This, we will be actually discussing the GRAPE action plan in the next slide. So all this will be actually bought in under the 15-point plan. So as it is very important that we tackle the air pollution, you can actually write this. If you actually get a generalized question based on air pollution, these are some of the points which you can actually consider writing on. So you know, stubble burning and pollution, DOM are two important things. Then if you are going to graded response action plan. Now there is actually a set of emergency measures that actually kick in if the air quality levels bypass. If you are looking at the air quality, it actually comes from about 100 to 500. So from about 0 to 100 it's okay, 100 to 100 it's extreme. But if it actually goes 400 plus, it's actually a severe category, and then the graded response action plans will be actually introduced in the national capital region. Okay, if the air quality index goes into severe category, then this graph will be actually introduced. Now initially there was no such legislation has been made by the central government. So in 2017-18 the Supreme Court has actually created the body called the ECPA, the Environmental Pollution Prevention and Control Authority was actually created. In 2020 the government actually brought in the Commission for Air Quality Management has actually brought out by the central government, which actually looks in the implementation of this air quality and such. So this actually uses the forecast data from the Indian Meteorological Division as well as the Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology as well. So they look into all these data, and the graph will be introduced if there is actually a severe kind of air pollution that has taken place in the National Capital Territory region. So the air quality index is AQI's air quality index is actually released by the Central Pollution and Control Board. So these are some of the important topics which we actually need to consider. Now this, before this action plan comes, there was actually ECPA, before this body comes, Commission of Air Quality Management. The committee was Environmental Pollution Prevention and Control Authority was actually in place. So that is what you need to know about the graded response action plan. Moving on, we have the Global Dispute Settlement, India and Appellate Review. The thing is that this actually based upon the WTO, and in our G20 summit that recently took place, a certain kind of declaration has been actually given out to enhance more reforms within the WTO sector, especially to introduce the appellate jurisdiction body. The thing is that there was actually a dispute mechanism, dispute resolution body. There is a dispute resolution body, and then further there is actually appellate body, so that you can actually create much more appeals in this within this particular body, and also they will look into the error correction within the decision that has been actually given by the dispute settlement board. But since 2019 no appellate body was actually present because USA has been withholding its assent. In WTO, what usually takes place is that for a particular decision to come out, all the parties should be in consent with each other. If at least one party does not actually put consent, then will actually block the entire legislation. So that similarly happened. The USA has actually blocked its actually appointments in the appellate regulatory board, because of it since 2019 there is not appellate body actually taken place. The dispute settlement board is there, but we cannot make further appeals. If a party feels the party cannot actually make any further kind of appeals as well. So they have actually talked about ensuring that a full and well functioning dispute settlement system will be actually in coordination by about 2040. This is another declaration that has been actually made in our G20. See, if you are looking, when this appellate body was actually not working, the investor state dispute settlement has been actually in place. Now this is actually a component of the bilateral investment treaties of the WTO. So this investor state dispute settlement was in place. The thing is that there was a lot of problem regarding the settlement. Suppose there is actually controversy within India, Brazil. A similar kind of situation is also taking place between India and South Africa. The thing is that both the cases, both the issues with India and Brazil as well as India and South Africa is actually seen. And two different bodies are actually created. Within the settlement body there are three people. One person will be actually appointed by the Indian party. The second person will be actually appointed by the Brazil party. The third person is actually a neutral person, so there actually can take place much more regarding a neutral judgment could actually take place. The thing is that for each and every state disputes happening, there was actually a particular body in place. So for the same issue, different suggestions was actually coming up. The thing is that for the same issue, both the bodies have been interpreting the statement correctly, but the outcome was actually different. Another case is that for the same issue, both the interpretation within both the disputes was actually different and the outcome was different. For the same issue, there was different outcome. This is because there is no particular guiding book or rule book especially present within the WTO sector. Now this was in place because there was no appellate body or there was not particular dispute settlement body which was actually present as such. Then we have, that is one of the particular issue. As well as I have told you, there was actually absence of a appellate review mechanism that was actually taking place within these sectors. So as I have told you, there was actually 100 such investor state dispute settlement was actually introduced, but nothing was actually of big concern because they were actually not giving out treaties or they were not giving out accurate judgments. Everything was actually different as such. So this was some of the important things. Diverging interpretation was actually given by all the parties and this was of the major concern. Now as per India, we are in support of creating the appellate body because we are not happy with the interpretation that has been actually happening with this interstate dispute resolution body. And as per the article 29 of the Indian model of BIT, it talks about giving India's concern about the inconsistency and incoherence within this particular dispute settlements body. So India is in actually favor of creating an appellate body to address the same issues. So that is it. It was a small topic. Then we have Shastra Ramanujan Prize. So recently you can see here Ruxiang Zhang, he is actually a professor at the University of California, Berkeley. He has done a lot of research regarding the mathematics field, especially regarding the number systems, workspace analytical number theory, Euclid harmony and axis. You don't need to go in depth with it. He is actually dealing with mathematics and in same line with that of S. Ramanujan. So he actually got the Shastra Ramanujan Prize as such. So this annually created a 10,000 rupees prize is actually given for the person, and this is actually given for people who are actually below the 32 and below. This is actually given every year and this prize is awarded in the International Conference in Number Theory. This will be actually given out in December 2022 at Shastra University at Kumbakonam, which is actually hometown of Ramanujan. So the Ramanujan, as you know, he had done a lot of work and research paper in case of mathematics as such, especially in number system, Euclidean theory, geometry as such. Ramanujan has done a lot of research and he has actually gained a popularity for it. In India, we have the National Mathematics Day, which is actually celebrated in December 22 on his birth anniversary as such. We celebrate the National Mathematics Day on his birth anniversary. So Shastra Ramanujan Prize is very important. You need to know the person's name and what this prize actually deals with as such. Then moving on, we have India Aging Report of 2023. Presently, you know, we have a particular demographic dividend that has actually taken place and now India is one of the populous countries. We have the demographic dividend. But if you are looking at 20 years, 30 years post, all this demographic dividend, all the age groups, the youngsters are going to age as such. So that is what the aging report is talking about. This aging report is actually released by the United Nations Population Fund. The aging report is actually released by United Nations Population Fund. The thing is that we have the demographic dividend now, but in coming years, this old age or the number of rate of the elderly population will actually increase or double to about 20% by 2050. That is one of the key findings that has actually taken place by the United Nations Population Fund. About by 2046, the number of elderly population will surpass the population of children that is actually present within the country. And this actually projects the people of age above 80 and above will be growing at the rate of about 279%. Now we see the population of people age, because we have all the medical facilities available, we can actually increase the life expectancy of the people. So because of which the population of people projected 80 and above will actually increase by about 279% between 2022 and 2025, and this will be predominated by widowed and highly dependent very old women. The thing is that women will live more than men is what stated by this data. So there will be predominance of widowed and highly dependent very old women will be actually present within that. So that is what is actually mentioned in the India Aging Report of 2023. Then we have the Toto language. So this is one of the primitive languages that is actually associated and spoken in the India-Bhutan border, especially if you are looking at the northern areas of the West Bengal region along the India-Bhutan border. This Toto language is actually talked about. This Toto language is actually spoken by the Toto community. They are basically the Sino-Tibetan language. So basically a Sino-Tibetan language. So they doesn't have a script, so they actually use the Bengali script. This Toto language doesn't have a script. So the news is about that a particular person is actually trying to revive this language, and he has actually developed a dictionary called the Toto Sabda Sangra, so that this Toto language will be particularly revived and it will not be critically endangered under this list. This is actually classified as a critically endangered language. So by introducing a dictionary, he will be actually able to transfer some of people to learn this particular language, so it won't actually go critically endangered. So that is about Toto. Language is primitive, is spoken by people near the India-Bhutan border, is specifically a Sino-Tibetan language. It doesn't have a script on its own, so it's actually using the Bengali script. Toto Shabda Sangra is actually a dictionary which is actually introduced so that this Toto language can be learned more. Moving on to our last topic, we have the Bolson Tortoise. The Bolson Tortoise are one of the largest species, and they are actually the rarest of land reptiles which we can actually find. They are actually native to North American continent, and we can actually find some in the north central Mexico region as well. The adult males are actually particularly smaller considered to that of the females, and they are actually mainly 95% of them are land dwelling. They create land dwelling reptiles, they create burrows and such. They are actually restricted to smaller areas of grassland in the north central Mexico in the state of Chihuahua and such, and as per the IUCN they are actually critically endangered. So you can see the Bolson kind of tortoise here. It's one of the largest but the rarest kind of land dwelling. These are land dwelling kind of reptiles. The males are actually smaller than that of females, and they are actually critically endangered as per IUCN. We can actually find native to North American continent. So that is it about the last 3 days. We had actually some of the important topics. The section has been long, as I know. We had to cover all the important topics within the last 3 days. So tomorrow we will be actually coming out with the monthly compilation. We will be actually discussing all the possible prelims questions that can actually come from the September months. So please watch that video as well, and then you will be resuming the normal session from Monday onwards, from October onwards. Thank you and have a nice day. Keep watching.